Hello everyone, I'm Roger Rosado. I will be taking you through the new linear visual control replacement. The TTEC module will describe the new linear visual control for maximal linear assets. You should already know or have some knowledge in using maximal linear assets and also some familiarity with the old linear visual controller. The new linear visual controller is basically a technology replacement of the old flash-based linear visual control. It's built on top of a product called Tree Grid, and I have the link there for you. Everything is purely written in JavaScript, so we took out Flash and totally replaced it with JavaScript. So it performs the same. The new linear visual controller still performs the same functionality as the old one does, with some additional tools added to it. The new linear visual controller is integrated in Maximo via a Maximo control component called MiniApp. Here's a screen about some helpful debugging info. The first one here describes about a system properties, the MiniApp development system properties. What's happening is the JavaScript is compiled and compact when delivered to the customer. So when we're debugging or developing, we set this to 1 so we're able to use uncompiled JavaScript. So it's easy to debug in the browser console. The second thing is there's a new logger called linear assets. And if it sets to debug, it'll help debug any linear visual control related issues and record them on the system logs. Also, if this linear asset debug is enabled, you'll see a debug tool appear on the linear visual control. And I'll show you that in the demo. Okay, to the application. We'll go to a linear asset. And one of the things you may already know, the linear visual controller is only visible on the 4 tabs, specification, features, relationship, and work, just like the old one did. So if I went to features, you'll see the new linear visual control. Here it is. This is the new look and feel of it. And if I went to a tab like safety, it will not appear. Same thing if I went to an asset that's nonlinear and went to features tab, nothing is shown here because it's not a linear asset. Let's go back to the linear asset here. Features. All right. So in the features down here, there's multiple features in the linear visual controller. There's multiple ways to zoom in. There are drop-down zoom, so I can go to the ones. If I center that a little bit and go to the next one down, tenths, you'll see that I can zoom in now. The next tool is zoom to fit page. If I click this, it'll zoom into the beginning to the end of my display here. And then another way to zoom in is these two zoom tools. Zoom in, click zoom in. These are pretty much self-explanatory. Zoom out, and of course zoom to fit into page. The next way you can zoom in is if you take your left mouse button, hold this down here, click here, and then move it to the right. It'll zoom in into that. or you can just click at the top and it'll zoom in a little to that. Or if you click on the second scale, like for 40, it'll scale to 40 right here. Next way to zoom is that I can go and highlight one of these objects here. And if I right click it, there are zoom options here. Zoom to fit, all that stuff. So the two interesting ones are the zoom to bars and zoom to box. When I click zoom to bars, it'll take this line and zoom it out to those bars, for example, aluminum and iron. Or I could right click and say zoom to the box, and it'll zoom the whole area to the box. Okay. The next thing we'll cover is as we go into different tabs, the other populates with information. Relationships tab would be populated. And then that brings us to this next collapse tool and expand all tool. So it's pretty much self-explanatory. When I click on collapse all rows, well, before I do that, I show you that because I went to each individual tabs. You don't have to go in each individual tabs to get the data. You can just click down here like this one, and boom, it'll display all the stuff that specifications have. And the things that display there, as you may already know, is what's in the main table. For example, the relationship table will be shown here. So whatever gets filtered out here in respect will be shown here. So if I filter out just to see this one will get updated just with that object. So that's important to note, which you should already know from the old one. Another tool here that was added was this resizable table. Resizable visual controller is down here. You can resize it to any way you want, and you can go back and resize that again to fit the screen. Okay, so that was one. Now let's go over here to the two tools. One is collapse all, one is to expand all. So if we click collapse all, everything gets collapsed. Expand, everything gets expanded as such. The next one is the print tool. What it'll do, it'll print what you see graphically here in your linear visual controller. So if I click here and say print the visible Gantt only, I press OK, and second, it prints it out. So you can see that it prints out what you see there. Of course, you gotta have the correct layout and paper size to get what you want, equivalent to what you set at the UI. One thing I want to explain here too, these are graphic symbols here. So it's important to note because when you go to this print control page from your browser, sometimes if this box is not checked, the background graphics, like I uncheck it here, you won't see that information. So forewarning that make sure you check the background graphics so you can see the data information. And then you can save it to whatever you want. My destination here is saved as PDF. I'm sure if you have a printer, you can change it and save it to the printer. Okay, next thing, I went through all the tools. The next one, this bug window tool here, this bug tool, this is again only visible when the linear asset logger is set to debug. If it's not set to debug, this will not appear. So, and this is basically to help you troubleshoot the tree grid, this linear visual controller and the tree grid. And you see, as I clicked it, you see down here, it tells you information about it. It also tells you how long it took to load the data and so forth in here. You can close it and then open it up again as often as you want. You can clear it, close it, and open it up again. It's empty. So that's that part. The second thing the next thing that it's the same that it was from the original linear visual controller is the ability to hover over the item and you'll see the tip message on the side, status information about the item. Very similar to what what they had before. So same stuff, as you can see, different information for different stuff. So I just wanted to reiterate what I said earlier. I went through all the tools already, so that's all the tools we have added, and I told you the resize. Oh yeah, one other thing I did kind of quickly went through is down here. You see the guardrail. See the material part? There's iron and aluminum. The the old linear visual controller, what happens if they overlapped? They created multiple rows called material. Well, for this release, we grouped them up. So we only created one row and you can have multiple overlaid objects. So same thing here, intersect. You see how there's three here. The older uh, flash-based LVC, you would have multiple intersects in rows, but we grouped them up here. So that's a difference from the old and new to the new. And everything behaves exactly the same way as the old one did. And what I mean by that, if you filter out up here, whatever you do up here to filter out, so if I go to work and I filter out and just say I just want to see 1167, enter, whatever I do up here will follow down here. As you can see, was updated. Tickets the same way. See, that's updated and the ticket is updated. And if I go back to the features or any other tab, that information is kept. The filter is kept. So just want to make sure you're aware of that. But it's the same thing as the old one used to do. So go back. One other thing I want to mention also is the from and to. The from 0 and 2, the from and to are equivalent to these lines you see here, these orange lines. Those are front and to stops. So just want to make sure you knew that. And one of the things I've noticed while working on this is that there are some items that gets filtered by the to and from and some not. So you have to be aware of it. And each tab behaves a little different from the other. For example, if I look at these two, the features and relationship, this is a good example. When I filter one, when I go up here and filter to maybe 26, so if I filter at 26, that means everything after 26 should disappear. For some may and some won't. And linear visual control really has no say. It's whatever gets filtered on these tables. So when I come over here and press enter, 26, you see, and now you can see that the orange start is set to 26 right there. So it goes from 26 to the 109.70. And you can see like some things disappear, like the ticket. No, not the ticket, I'm sorry. Go to features. The features, remove the dots here. And the ticket did too. I guess it removed the ones that were not did not pass that. But again, work, it didn't matter. It showed, see, so I don't know what the difference is really, but it behaves the same way it did with the original. So we kept it as such. Like here, this one, intersect, they all still appeared under the 25. Okay. So I don't know why it does that, but that's how it behaved before. So we're just going to make it behave the same way. And I believe I've touched on everything. Oh, I want to do one more thing. In the print icon, you can also select items. So the way you select is you hold the left button down and you highlight like that. So you highlight, you hold the left button down, and you move it, and you move the mouse a little down. The same thing here. So that's highlighted. So I could go to the print here and say print rows only. Okay. It should only print those two things. And they do, these two items. Is that they were not in the space, but they do print. I mean, they do show those two items. Okay. So that works fine. And I believe that to unhighlight them, unselect them, you just do the same thing. Hold the left key mouse down and move it down just a little bit. That's it. And I believe I've gone through everything here. And that is it. Basically, it behaves the same thing. We just have a different technology, and that's it. Okay, I think it's done. Thanks for listening to me, and talk to you later. Bye.